There have been countless incarnations of Spider-Man in the comic books, and the awesomely animated Into the Spider-Verse introduces us to just a handful.
I just washed my hands, that's why they're wet. No other reason?
Okay. On this IMD Brief, let's look at the newest Spider-Man to join the Spider-Verse, and what other Arachnid Avengers we'd like to see spin some webs. A Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel is on the horizon, and producer Phil Lord has already revealed a fan-favorite version of Spider-Man has been designed for the new film.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there.
And we certainly didn't see this coming, because this version of Peter Parker, named Takuya Yamashiro, isn't from the comics but from a live-action Japanese TV show from the late 70s called Spider-Man. This incarnation of the webhead wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider, but instead got his powers from a UFO known as the Marveler, which Spidey can turn into a giant robot with the help of his oversized bracelet thingy. He also drives a really boss car and has a theme song about shaking his bum. Oh, and in case you were wondering, his archenemy is named Professor Monster. While the inclusion of this wild and weird Spider-Man into the upcoming Spider-Verse film is awesome news, we are hoping to get even more Spider characters, with a few specifics in mind.
You're like me.
Back in 2003, the uber-talented author Neil Gaiman created a limited comic series titled Marvel 1602, where superheroes were born hundreds of years in the past and included historical versions of Doctor Strange, the X-Men, and, you guessed it, Spider-Man.
Call me Spider-Man! Okay, Spider-Man!
But in 1602, he is known as the Spider, who worked for Sir Nicholas Fury and had all the powers and abilities of the Spidey we know and love, with an even cooler costume. If he pops up in the new film, he would be the perfect teammate for the futuristic Spider-Man 2099, who was introduced in a post-credit scene of Into the Spider-Verse.
Let's start at the beginning, one last time.
Another webhead could come from the mind of comic author Dan Slott, who has written nearly 200 issues of Spider-Man comics, creating countless Spider spin-off characters, including 2014's Silk. Also known as Cindy Moon, she was bitten by the same radioactive spider as Peter Parker, only moments after him. Moon has all the same abilities the friendly neighborhood superhero does, and then some, like the power to organically spin webs from her fingertips. The character could be a great expansion to the universe of Jake Johnson's Spider-Man from the first film, as she comes from the same world.
We're a little team. Me as the teacher who could still do it. You as the student who can do it, just not as good.
That's high praise coming from you, Spidey. And speaking of praise, Cosmic Spider-Man deserves all of it, because he is the most powerful Spider-Man of all time. This power comes from the Enigma Force, a sentient energy that seeks out and bonds with a host, giving them the power to do pretty much anything.
It's clear to me that you were not ready for this.
This take on the webhead first appeared in 1989's The Spectacular Spider-Man number 158, and was expanded on in Dan Slott's 2015 miniseries, aptly titled Spider-Verse. And he could fit perfectly into the new film, as the Spidey gang will need all the power they can get to save the multiverse once again.
This could literally not get any weirder.
It can get weirder.
For the latest cinematic Spider news, stay glued to imdb.com/imdbrief.